All right, welcome to this week's Points and Miles report here on Traveling on Everyday Spend. I hope everybody's having a great morning, or might be afternoon or evening for depending on where you're located. Got a few things to cover today, and we're going to also to make sure to touch on about the World Cup and what Chase is going to be doing with the Chase Sapphire to get you access to those tickets. We don't know a whole lot yet, but we do know enough to get you ready for that. So we're going to make sure to talk about that. And then, of course, we'll just jump right on in this to make sure we utilize your time wisely. So the first thing we're going to always talk about is we're going to talk about the credit card offers that are going on. As far as the offers, there's some interesting ones that have popped up, and especially at this time of the year, we're going to see some winding down, and then we're going to obviously see a ramp back up in January. But what we first have is for American Express, those Hilton Honors credit cards, all four of them are elevated through January 14th, so you still have plenty of time. Now, for Capital One, we got the Venture X and the Venture X Business. Now, the positive is that the Venture X is up to 100,000 points, miles. The problem is that to get to that, they really upped the cost to get to that 100,000. Remember, this is one that where you got 75,000 points for $4,000 in spend. Now you get 100,000, but you got to spend 10 grand to get there. So not the most ideal, but it looks good when you take a quick look at it. And then, of course, the VentureX businesses is for the clear, significant business when they're talking about 200,000 miles for $30,000 in spend in the first 3 months, and then an additional 200,000 miles for another 150,000 total in purchases in the first 6 months. Bank of America, we still have those Atmos credit cards for Alaska. Really valuable currency in the points and miles game. Can be a good card for many people. A new card to talk about is You Promise. Now, if you have had a child or a grandchild looking at going to college, this You Promise is part of a college savings for saving for college. And the You Promise credit card is supposed to help you get there. And it becomes a pretty interesting one if you're a cashback person. They have an elevated offer of $300 cash back after $1,000 in purchases in the first 90 days. You do have plenty of time to evaluate this because the fine print says it's going to be good through March 17th of 2026. And you do get an elevated redemption as far as earnings rate on it when you link it when it's linked with a college savings account. So one to potentially look at. Chase, a couple of things that we're seeing that is interesting is that Chase seems to be settling in on certain welcome bonuses. For instance, the Chase Sapphire Preferred, while I'm showing it as 75,000 points, it is, but they've taken away the banner that talks about limited time offer, elevated offer. So it obviously lends us to think that maybe the Chase Sapphire Preferred is going to settle in here at this 75,000 point mark for a undefined period of time, which is really good if you are looking for that first travel credit card. The Chase Sapphire Reserve and for business as well as the personal still talks about it being a bit of an elevated offer. So it's good to see that the preferred may end up settling in at 75,000 points. And we'll be talking about the Sapphire and Preferred when we talk about the World Cup. The Chase Freedom Unlimited has one of their highest offers at $300 or $500 in purchases in the first 3 months. It's, like I said, it's the highest in 9 months, and it's going to be ending January 15th. So you do have time for that. Amazon Prime, 0 annual fee, but you do have to have the Amazon Prime card. That is still elevated at $250 and has been extended to January 8th. The Inc. Business Preferred card, it's 100,000 points for $8,000 in spend in purchases in the first 3 months. It is a very good card at a $95 annual fee rate for the business rated cards. Citi, we still have the Strata Elite, the Strata, and the Globe with the elevated offers that we've had. We don't have any kind of time frame of when that may be ending, but if you're interested in any of them, you probably shouldn't wait too long. So that's what we end up having for the elevated offers that we're seeing currently. And want to make sure to say hello to Carlos. Good morning to you and happy Sunday to you as well. Appreciate you being able to stop in today. Thanks so much. Now, as far as the transfer bonuses, once again, at this time of the year, we're going to be light on the transfer bonuses. Virgin Atlantic, 40% ends December 31st. Finnair through Chase at 20% through the 31st, and then Aeroplan at 30% ends on January 3rd. But I expect that we'll be seeing some re-up on that as we get into early January. Now, there's a lot of points and miles opportunities, and as I always talk to you about, I will put as much as I can fill in the description for you to be able to look at, but I try to highlight the ones that are ending or the ones that are just jumping on for you to be able to be aware of. So Alaska Airlines, I've shown a few times only because I'm very partial to Alaska Airline miles or Atmos at this point. But you still have the opportunity to purchase through December 23rd at up to 100% discount. Your mileage may vary in some cases, but in my case, it's 100%. And if I'm getting 100%, I'm sure 99% of you all will get that also. I'm normally the person that has the least amount of redemption on these. Turkish has up to 100% bonus that's going to end tomorrow. That is going to trigger the 100% once you get to 101,000 miles, but you can get 25% discount as low as 10,000 miles. United up to 100% bonus if you purchase by December 24th. That will still put you pretty high at 1.88 cents per mile versus kind of the standard of 1.2. But as I always talk to you all about, the value of the redemption is strictly based upon what good redemptions you can find. So don't worry about these baselines that I ever talk about. Then we have Aeroplan. Now they have an up to 30% bonus if you purchase by January 24th. This is a new one that came out. Now at 30%, it's still going to make it 1.9 cents per point or per mile versus 1.5, but that's pretty close if you have the right redemption that works for you. Virgin Hotels has that reward sale that goes through January 15th. The checkout, you have to reserve by January 15th, and the checkout is January 31st, between January 31st and March 31st for these. Now, these are limited to the certain hotels that I have shown on here, which is in Dallas, Nashville, New York, New Orleans, and then London Shoreditch. So those are the ones that are limited to this reward sale. There is a really nice sale that has come out now for IHG. It is 25% off of their luxury and lifestyle portfolios in the Americas. Now, the Americas include the United States, Canada, Mexico, the Caribbean, and Latin America. Registration is required, but I'll have the landing page for you in the description for you to be able to go to. Now, these brands, these portfolios will include the Intercontinental, Regent, Kimpton, the Vignette Collection, as well as Six Senses. You do need a book by December 28th, but you can do travel all the way through May 31st. So it's got a now it says 25% off, not up to 25% off. And for what I've seen, I am seeing 25% off, but keep an eye on it. Make sure to check the fine print to make sure that you're getting the best value you can on this. Frontier has their 150% bonus, which matches their best offer for purchasing points. It's through April 9th. And at the 100%, it puts you at half a cent per point, which is very competitive if you are needing to top off some Frontier miles for travel. Eva Air will go through December 31st, 35% bonus. Not the most ideal as far as purchasing at 2.96 cents per mile at that 35%, especially if you're flying to Taiwan. There's a lot of different options and there's a lot of different offers that are out there right now or that have come up pretty consistently. I'm going to Taipei in February flying China Airlines, but I've seen Starlux have some good point deals come up from time to time. And I've also seen Eva Air come up with a couple of them. So make sure that you're looking at, if you're looking at Taipei to fly to Taiwan or points beyond, this is probably not going to be a good one to look at, but I want to make sure to share it with you anyway. And then as far as the quick notes, I want to make sure to say hello to Mr. Kokul. Good morning to you. Thanks for stopping in, sir. Always appreciate your presence. Thanks so much. Let's hit a few quick notes. And the quick notes are going to be items that just to make sure that you're aware of what might be coming up on the horizon. The first one is the next OneWorld member. And we're thinking it probably is going to be Porter Airlines. Now, Porter Airlines is based out of Canada, and they already have relationships with other members of OneWorld, such as Alaska, American Airlines, and others. It would provide OneWorld that Canadian airline presence because Air Canada is through is not through them for them. So they're in Star Alliance. So this would help with OneWorld to have that in creating connecting itineraries that would go through Toronto of Canada. Now, the total seats to the United States was already up 24% from last year, and that's considering how much issues that we've had here in the United States of people traveling here due to various conditions. Frontier is going to be introducing their new first class seat as they will try to make the transition that we've seen some of the other low-cost carriers doing of trying to move to more of the mainstream, as of course we see the mainstream trying to go lower as far as what's available as more of a bargain one. So it's a very interesting dichotomy of this. So the new Frontier First Class is expected to be rolled out in spring of 2026. It was originally anticipated in late 2025, but of course has been delayed. Now, Elite Platinum and Diamond would get companion passes as they roll this out. So we'll have to look for those details. And the reclining seats will be the first 2 rows of the plane. And that's what first class is going to give you as far as the seat. We don't necessarily know about the soft product of what you're going to specifically get, but I'm sure we're going to find out more pretty soon with it having a spring 2026 rollout. Qantas Auckland Lounge there in Australia, the lounge was closed last year for a full redevelopment. It opened this past week, and it is redeveloped and expanded. It is 60% larger than it was originally, and it has a capacity of 370. And it is the first location where OneWorld Emerald flyers, including Qantas Platinum 1 and Platinum, will actually have access to a la carte dining. That is a big deal. I've had the opportunity to fly Qantas first class to be able to have the a la carte dining in LAX, and it was outstanding. I can't even put words to how nice it was. And so having that for people to be able to have with not having to get to first class is going to be a nice touch for people that reach OneWorld Emerald status or the higher level status for Qantas. JetBlue's domestic first class is coming shortly. Now, this is not going to be the same as Mint that we obviously that is well regarded and well known. This is going to be equipped on the A220, the A320, and the A321. And it's kind of being dubbed as the mini Mint and junior Mint, of course. The aircraft installations are going to begin in August of 2026. And the A220s, which are the smallest of those 3 planes I mentioned, will have 8 first-class seats, and there will be 12 first-class seats on the 320s and the 321s. Now, of course, with a retrofitting like this, what are you going to lose? Well, you're going to lose what's been considered the most spacious economy seat in the industry, and their pitch for that seat is going to go from 32 to 30 inches. There'll be some other adjustments on one other level of seats, and that is to create the space for this first class. And it's considered a domestic first class level. JetBlue kind of went from the economy and jumped to a very nice layout with Mint. So this is their version of first class. Seats look pretty good, but we'll have to see what all comes with it. Emirates A350. Now it's been over a year since they've started flying the A350 for Emirates, but it has not really been to North America, and that is about to change. The inaugural flight to North America is going to be in Montreal on January 11th. And what the A350 is going to bring to this is bringing even a premium economy for Emirates to Canada for the first time, as well as these new A350s have the latest version of the business class. Now, the business class wasn't revolutionary, but some nicer finishes on that. So it's good to see that we're going to start seeing that plane hit North America. And then American Airlines ended up abruptly taking away earning on basic economy. So they stripped any type of earning that you can do on basic economy flights for American Airlines. So any tickets purchased before December 17th, you'll still earn the points retro. So you'll be able to have that same ability to get those points. Everything beyond that, there are no elite points. There's no AA points that are advantage points that are going to come with your flights. Now, this does bring them in line with Delta, which is not surprising. United still does provide some earnings benefits. So it's not surprising this was going to happen. It's just unfortunate that it was an unannounced thing that ended up happening. And obviously, when we're doing this points and miles game, it becomes more and more important of how much, I'll call it respect, that we're shown to give us a heads up and not just do it blindside. And then the Admirals Club Lounge over at Reagan Airport in DC in Concourse D, that will be closing soon for renovation. We don't have a firm date on it yet, but it looks like it's going to be early 2026. The renovation will include an increase of that lounge to 10,000 square feet, and that'll be a 50% increase in seating. Now, the project is supposed to be very similar to what happened in Concourse E in 2022. I've not been to Concourse D's, I don't think, but I've had the opportunity to go to the Admirals Lounge there, and it was very nice for what it was. So anything that's going to end up helping our lounge experience is good, and they have a very good presence there over at Reagan Airport, so that should end up working out for us. Let's move to some topics of the day, and let's talk about Mesa. Final resolution, apparently, that we're going to see for this. And I've talked about Mesa, the good when it was going on, and unfortunately the bad that a lot of us got caught on a week or so ago. So just to bring everybody up to speed, if you Mesa Homeowners Card was the first credit card that provided points for your mortgages. They built it on what I would call a slightly improved platform than Bilt, meaning that they did not end up actually processing it through your credit card. They just linked your bank account that you spent on, and then you ended up getting the points for it. And then they improved it. I say improved as far as what I thought was going to be more sustainable, and I think many people thought was going to be more sustainable, was that you had to have $1,000 spend on it versus the 5 transactions that Bilt has, which has been a lot of problems for them. And we've heard directly from Bilt about that. So with the Mesa Homeowners Card, you had to have $1,000 spend, but they had very good multipliers when it came to your anything home related, whether you were doing Lowe's or you were paying your HOA, or whether you were having something fixed on the house, even daycare, which was very at 3x was amazing if you had kids and could be able to utilize it. So it obviously abruptly ended on December 12th. Some people that were able to find out pretty quickly were able to shift their points to transfer partners for probably about a 2-hour window. I think people got notified maybe about 6, 7 o'clock at night, something along that line. And so, of course, I didn't pay attention, wasn't even aware of it. So then it ended up blocking people out. So Mesa came out and has said that we're going to pay 0.6 cents per point and treat it as a statement credit for you. And this should be done, and you should be able to see it in 7 to 10 business days. Not ideal, and it's not a woe is me kind of thing, but a lot of people lost more points than I did. I had 69,000 points. I had not spent it since I had the card, because I planned on using it to stay at the Fairmont at the Vancouver airport. I was a little slow on the trigger, and that was the learning lesson for me. When you're ready to do something when it comes to points, especially with an entity that it was still in its first year, I should have, I missed it by a week from when I decided. So it's a learning lesson for me and hopefully for you. Don't let when you have a decision that you made, go ahead and move those points as long as you know that you're making it confidently. So there are a couple things that we don't still know, even though they come out with a frequently asked question sheet website on their website, and I'll make sure to have a link for that for you to be able to see, is that what if your statement credit that you earn exceeds the total cost that you have on your statement? There is there's not clear language that we see as far as you getting cashed out. They used as far as purchases, credits. They do not specifically say that if you exceed the statement credit, if your statement credit exceeds the balance on your statement, that you're going to get it. And so we don't know that answer yet. I've sent my email in to ask that question, and we'll see what we end up finding out. Obviously, it's probably not going to be the most responsive at this point. So if you have points, now they say that there's nothing you have to do. You just need to be, that you will get cashed out. There is no other option on it. Now, I can't get into my account, and that was one of my emails for, was I need access to it to know where I'm going to stand on my statement balance. So make sure if you haven't seen it, make sure to check your email, because you probably got a notification about this. And then make sure about that 7 to 10 days that you are seeing that credit happen. The other thing that you should keep in mind is that the message that they're going to put on the credit bureau is going to say that the creditor essentially closed the account. There's no special language that they're using to show that, hey, this is a mass closing. I'm hopeful that because this is pretty wide, this is happening to everyone, that credit bureaus are accounting for this properly. But if you notice any kind of sustained dip in your credit report, in your credit score, you may want to end up contacting the credit bureau, that particular credit bureau, and add a note to your credit to let them know that this was a mass closing by Mesa as they closed out all credit cards. Hopefully you won't have to take your time to do that, but just make sure that you're looking at it, especially if you're looking at some financing on a house or a car or anything else, and you're concerned about every point counting. So make sure to take a look at that. So I wanted to make sure to share that as one of the topics for Mesa. Now, Delta One is going to have a new U.S. route, and this new U.S. route is going to end up being from LAX to Atlanta. Now, this will start on March 29th of 2026. Right now, there's currently 10 nonstops per flights per day regularly between Atlanta and LAX. Delta One would be offered on their wide body planes, the 767-300 and the A350. Now, the first class seat is not changing, so they are not doing any retrofitting. They're not making any improvements. It is still going to be the domestic first class seat that you are used to if you've flown Delta in first class. So the seat is not changing, but they say the experience will be enhanced. Now, the biggest thing, I won't say the biggest thing, but one of the big things about Delta One is having access to the Delta One lounge. You also have to be aware that you're only going to get this on one side. So there is no Delta One lounge in Atlanta currently, and there's not a timeline for them to have one specifically. I'm sure they'll get one, but it's not going to be one of the benefits you're going to get at this point. There is a very nice one in LAX that you'll be able to experience on one side. They'll also improve the offerings with service, food, drinks, and the bedding that comes with it. So you'll have to make sure, if you want to take a Delta One flight from Atlanta to LAX or vice versa, that the cost truly makes good sense for you, because you will not get the complete experience of Delta One, at least at this point. Now, the other interesting thing is how Medallion Elite members are going to be treated for upgrades. For this route, as it relates to Delta One, Medallion Elite members that are eligible for upgrades on these flights will be cleared on the day of the flight. Now, that's very different, because of the fact that depending upon your medallion status it determined when you would get into the queue for the time frame. So if you were at the quote unquote lowest at silver status, it would be 1 day before. If it's gold, it was 3 days before, and platinum and diamond were 5 days, so that you could be able to have that chance for upgrade that far out. they're not going to make that available on these particular flights with Delta One from the Atlanta LAX. So that'll be interesting, especially if you're a person that's had a very has reached a certain status of what you're looking at for that. And I see Mr. Coco says Mesa really surprised me with their shutdown. I thought their $1,000 spend was a good strategy. Wondering about Bilt now. I am in complete agreement with you, sir. My feeling is, and I mentioned this in a comment to someone that had asked about what the numbers mean with Bilt, and it's confusing. And I think we've all been there. I definitely have been, as far as the whole situation. I thought, as you did, that the $1,000 spend was going to be enough of a minimum threshold that they were going to be able to make things work. And I thought, because of the fact of how their multipliers were, I thought it was going to be a much more used credit card than what Bilt is. Plus, they added on that, as I mentioned before, that was one of the highest credit limits I had at $20,000. And on top of that, that maybe they pick up some interest from people not paying everything on time. So, and I thought, and I keep saying and, the other thing I thought was that they moved relatively slow on the transfer partners. They had a lot of ones that most people don't fly: Vietnam, Hainan Airlines, to name a couple of them. And then they kind of got a few mainstream ones. They did a good job of getting Avios ones through Finnair. They got Accor Live Limitless. They just got Omni the week before they shut down. So I thought they had a good business model. We didn't have any inkling about their finances not working out right. But as I mentioned before, I think there was a few problems that probably played out for them as a startup that Bilt didn't have to deal with Wells Fargo, although they were losing millions, was the fact that they may have extended themselves too far with the credit limits for that. I think that they tried to do the points thing, probably kind of caught them a little bit. And I don't think they had a lot of wiggle room. I think Wells Fargo had a lot more wiggle room. Now, when we're talking about Bilt with cardless, I'm very concerned. I think that we've now seen Bilt not be sustainable at 5 transactions. We've seen Mesa as a startup essentially not be viable with $1,000. And on top of that, they didn't incur a 3% fee of processing these like Bilt did. So they skipped that and still got the $1,000 spend. So what does that mean when you're talking about Bilt and cardless? Now, I understand that cardless is not a startup, but they are not Wells Fargo or any of the major brands. I don't see how there's any way possible that they can sustainably have a no annual fee card or even a $95 annual fee card and still keep 5 transactions as the trigger to get the points, especially if we're going to add the mortgages in now. So I am concerned about it. I think that, and I also am concerned that because Mesa failed, does that allow Bilt to take more time to bring in mortgage holders? I'm fine with waiting if they're going to be smart and make this sustainable. This is almost really our last chance at this for the time being. Now, in addition to Bilt, one of the things I didn't mention is there is the MAID credit card. That only came out about a month or so ago, and it's also for mortgage. No annual fee, but there are no travel partners. This is strictly a cashback kind of situation and varies between 0.7 and 0.8 cents per point. So basically kind of the low tier that we're seeing for others. Not one I've really even considered. I still won't really consider the card, and we'll have to see what happens with Bilt in the cardless form. So I'm just hopeful that they are making smart decisions so that when this rollout happens, that it can be sustainable, even if it's not what they've advertised it to be. I think most of us can bite the bullet on, we'll call it an error in judgment if they have to, but we don't want to have something fail again with the mortgages. There's a lot of money for these credit card companies to make in it. And if you got to make it $2,000 spend, if you got to do something else, just do it. You can always ratchet it back if you need to, but it makes it much worse if you have to ratchet it up. So I agree with you on this, and we're going to have to definitely see how this plays out. Very short time window for them to do this, especially with Mesa falling out. But I guess we'll see what ends up happening. But definitely everybody share your thoughts on this, of what you're thinking is going to end up happening with it. Then let's talk about the whole new no more 2 cents per point at the edit. Now, for those that are not as familiar with Chase, especially the Sapphire cards in the edit itself, this became more of a forefront thing when the Chase Sapphire Reserve did its refresh. And basically what they introduced was the points boost, which in this case with the edit, you were guaranteed 2 points per 2 points per dollar, 2 points for this when you're using the edit in their travel portal. We did have guaranteed numbers before. This is now leaning itself more towards Chase's brand. And so, as I mentioned, this was clearly a way to help promote the edit. Now, they are the rival to the fine hotel and resorts that Amex has and Capital One's premium collection as well. Now, it appears that cardholders have taken, I think, must have done really kind of dove in with the 2 cents per point at the edit, because it hasn't, once again, we've seen so many issues with this Chase Sapphire Reserve for Chase to make it viable and getting enough people to get it. Well, people that have gotten it must be using the edit and really hammering the 2 points, because already we're now seeing that they have changed the language from 2 cents per point to now up to 2 cents. We don't necessarily know how that part is really playing itself out, but what you need to know, though, is if you've been looking at any of the edit, hotels to use and you have a Chase Sapphire Reserve card, you need to unfortunately make a decision today if you want to maximize points related to that. As of tomorrow, and we don't know what time tomorrow, I've not seen anything, but as of December 22nd, that up to 2 points is going to become effective. If you do it today, then even if you don't see, when you do go through the travel portal, if you see something less than 2 points, 1.7, 1.5, Chase says that they will make a correction to that shortly thereafterwards so that you do get the full 2 points. So if you have any plans that involves an edit hotel and you know that you're ready to make a move on it, today's the day to do it, to guarantee your 2 points if you're going through the travel portal versus tomorrow or Tuesday, when it's going to drop down to some variable number. So I want to make sure to share that with you today as well. So let's move on to some new hotels. Now, I try to touch on new hotels because at least for me, and I'm hoping you all find it interesting, is the more places that we're able to use our points at, not just for me in the United States, but around the world, that can make your experience a bit better with points that you may not have necessarily been spending dollars on. So I do have a few of them for you today. So let's start with the Andaz One Bangkok. Now that opened this past week. It's right beside Lufini Park there in Bangkok. 244 rooms and suites ranging from 400 square feet to 2,100 square feet. So good sized rooms. Dining, you're going to have a Chinese venue called Jing. Piscari is for Mediterranean. And then you're going to have the Andaz Terrace, as well as a bar with a speakeasy and DJ. This is a category 5 and starting at $300 per night or 17,000 points off peak. Then you have the Four Seasons at Cartagena, which is in Colombia. Now, this one is accepting applications for stays now, and they're going to be opening on May 15th. Now, this is located near the UNESCO-listed walled city. For those that don't know what UNESCO is, it is the United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization. So dealing with sites and locations that have some historical significance. Now, this one is a 131 key hotel. We don't have a lot more information about it at this time. The Kennedy 89 is in Frankfurt, Germany. Now, this is one of the Hyatt Unbound collections. 180 rooms and suites, They're going to have all the rooms have kitchens and balconies, 3 restaurants and bars with a rooftop restaurant opening next year. And this is a category 4, starting at $277 per night, or at category 4, 12,000 points off peak, 15,000 regular, and 18,000 points on the high side. IHG is going to be opening a 3-hotel complex near Universal Studios Japan. Now that's located near Osaka in the Kansai International Airport. They're going to have a Holiday Inn with 327 guest rooms, a Kimpton with 246 guest rooms, and several dining areas and indoor pool. And then they're even going to have an Intercontinental there, 244 guest rooms, as well as an all-day restaurant. Now, this one won't open until 2029, but it's definitely a different thing for IHG to have a 3-hotel complex. Then we have the Fairview Hotel in Kenya. Now, this is a pretty historic hotel, and it is now joining the IHG Vignette Collection. 99 renovated guest rooms and suites, because it has been there for a bit. 5 restaurant and bar options, including a hidden underground wine cellar. Now, this is going to start at only $114 a night, or 20,000 of your IHG points. Then we have the Emirates Grace Bay there in Turks and Caicos. This is the Hilton LXR hotel that's going to be opening in 2028. It's going to be a family-friendly resort, 2 restaurants, along with a dedicated pool and beach. So that is something to look forward to if you're looking at the beaches of Turks and Caicos. So let's move to the Chase Sapphire and the World Cup tickets of what's going on. Now this is football, not our American football, that I will talk about. So FIFA World Cup is coming to the United States, Canada, and Mexico in 2026. This is going to have a record 104 matches being played in 16 cities across those 3 countries. In the United States, it's going to have 11 cities, which include Atlanta, Boston, Dallas, Houston, Kansas City, Los Angeles, Miami, New York/New Jersey, Philadelphia, the San Francisco Bay Area, and Seattle. Mexico will have 3 cities with Guadalajara, Mexico City, and Monterrey. And then Canada will have Toronto and Vancouver. Now, some tickets have already been released for the World Cup through either pre-sale group tickets or some random selection draws that have happened over the last few months. What Chase has announced is that they will have an exclusive World Cup ticket sale for their Chase Sapphire and I stress this because this is really good to see, and their Chase Sapphire Preferred card holders. So you're going to get the benefit of this, not just because you're spending $500-600 or more on the Sapphire Reserve. You can get this with the $95 Chase Sapphire credit card. Now, the tickets are going to go on sale from February 10th to February 24th, but keep in mind, this is not going to be, those tickets are not going to be for sale the entire time. They're going to sell them out. This is the biggest thing that's happened in this part of the world when it comes to World Cup. Those tickets are going to go away. So if you are interested in it, you're going to definitely want to make sure that you're ready to go when you get to February 10th. Now, we don't have the specifics yet as far as, are we going to see where maybe the reserve card holders get a head start on the Chase Sapphire Preferred card holders? We also don't know about the numbers and the prices. If you look at World Cup's websites, there's a lot of different options to be able to get their tickets. You can do it by following your team. You can do it by the venue, and various other options. What options will Chase cardholders have? But if you are interested in this, this is something that you definitely have to be aware of it. And because you have until February 10th, if you were, and that's why I was kind of stressing about the Sapphire Preferred. If you're looking at the Sapphire Preferred, that is a card that now seems to be settling in at 75,000 points. That's a very good offer on a $95 credit card, and to be able to potentially get this if it's going to be a sweetener for you. Now, this is going to be through Chase Experiences, and this by far is the biggest Chase experience that they've had. We've obviously seen where many other credit cards have experiences. Obviously, Chase does it with the US Open. We've seen Wimbledon with Amex. We've seen NASCAR with Choice Hotels, because they've got a couple of uh, racing teams that are there. So this is something that you're going to want to keep your eye on. But once again, I'm a very big fan of the Chase Sapphire Preferred, and especially now that they've settled in at this 75,000 point mark, could be something where if you're a World Cup person and you were concerned about tickets or what you might be able to do, there's going to be some things out there for you. So I want to make sure to share that with you all. And as we get more information, I will definitely make sure to share that here on the live stream and get that information to you as soon as possible. And of course, to the members of the advisory board, consider joining. If it's not something that works out, then you can always quit at any time. But I make sure to get now a recorded stream every week. Make sure to answer questions, anything that may come up, and get the videos out to you quicker, and also try to get your thoughts about any content that you're wanting to be able to see. So consider joining that. So that's what I got for today. I want to make sure if anybody's got questions or concerns or thoughts. A lot of things still going on, and as bad as Mesa has been, and as much as of a concern as Bilt is, this hobby that we do of points and miles, or even if you're doing cash back, there's still so much out there for us to be able to do and to take advantage of, to make our travel lives and our just overall recreation lives better. I am just enamored by it, even in my short 2 to 3 years of doing this. So, and being able to share this with you all and get you all's feedback and talking with you all really means the world to me for that. And so look forward to talking with you soon, and appreciate you all stopping out, and see you all soon. You all take care.